Chapter 53:23. Very quickly he was nearing. When Dmo Xian saw that person's face clearly, the handsome brows on his peerless face creased slightly. It was actually him. Dragon. Proud. Heavens. Recalling that it was because of Long Outyin that he separated from Yiqing Luo on Devil Destruction Mountain, Dmo Xian's heart surged with raging fury. Long Outyin had betrayed Lil Luo's trust. It was because he had lied to Lil Luo, or which was why she fell into his trap. Dmo Xian didn't dare to imagine how much suffering Yiqing Luo would have suffered if she fell into Huang Wuyo's hands. Long Outyin, you still have the guts to come out. The minute the World Group's members saw Long Outyin, all of their eyes were filled with rage. The gazes they shot towards Long Outyin were filled with hatred. Long Outyin, who was stepping on numerous dead puppets' heads, took a glance at them expressionlessly, and finally his gaze landed onto Dmo Xian. He opened his mouth indifferently without much emotion. Why wouldn't this seat dare to come out? Do you think that you can win this seat? The World Group's members' hands, which were holding onto their weapons, were trembling from anger and frustration. Yes, their abilities were indeed not comparable to Long Outyin, this 10,000-year-old demon dragon, but the minute they thought that Yiqing Luo had fallen into Huang Wuyo's hands because of him, even if they knew that they couldn't win him, they still wanted to charge up and fight with him. Long Yunzhan's azure blue eyes were like rippling waves. That usually expressionless face was now covered with thick anger. Demon Dragon King. It's after all just a species which was crowned king 10,000 years ago. The current era belongs to the younger generation. I'd like to see how awe-inspiring this old demon dragon can be. Long Yunzhan's words made the World Group's members all widen their eyes. Xiao Jin gave a thumbs up. Incredible, our group leader actually knows how to ridicule a human. Pui, he's ridiculing a dragon. Yin Shaoi slapped his head. Be serious. Don't you know what kind of occasion this is? Tong Ziqing looked at Long Yunzhan worriedly. Group leader. Demon Dragon King is after all a 10,000-year-old demon dragon. Although you're already the human dragon race's king, but don't worry. Long Yunzhan's eyes were calm as he glanced at Tong Ziqing. With the dragon bone sword in his hand, he leaped into the air and slashed at Long Outyin. Long Yunzhan. A low and dignified voice stopped Long Yunzhan's actions. The shimmering figure on the high platform had suddenly appeared in front of Long Yunzhan and blocked his path. Dmo Xian's eyes were cold and his voice was chilly. His target is this lord. During the period when Yiqing Luo disappeared, Huang Wuyo's undead puppets quickly took over the various surfaces. As a result, countless interfaces fought back in a fluster. The battle in the immortal world was the fiercest. Dmo Xian led the imperial palace to support them, and as a spiritual pillar, he had not really made any vicious moves. And Long Outyin's appearance. It was obvious that Huang Wuyo had purposely arranged this. Huang Wuyo had already calculated that today would be the end of his patience. He had predicted that he would definitely leave the battlefield today to look for Yiqing Luo. That was why Long Outyin was here. In the entire God realm, the only person who could stop Long Outyin, the Demon Dragon King from 10,000 years ago, was Dmo Xian. It's good that you know, this seat can't be bothered to kill anyone else. Long Outyin stretched out both his arms as he floated down from the undead puppet's head, and sped towards Dmo Xian's direction. Dmo Xian speedily pushed Long Yunzhan back into the World Group's boundary as he raised his palm to meet Long Outyin's attack. Two bursts of energy exploded in the sky. Chapter 53:24. Demon Dragon King's power, even after 10,000 years, was still as powerful as before, shaking the heavens and earth. After Dmo Xian's palm met with his, a glint of profound meaning flashed past his eyes as the expression on his face turned solemn. Whereas on the other side, those who were entangled with the undead puppets didn't have the time to observe this battle. The undead puppets, which didn't know fatigue, swarmed towards them once again. Originally, when they were dealing with those hundreds of thousands of undead puppets, God Realm soldiers and those who came to help were already having a hard time. Now Long Outyin had brought another batch of obviously more powerful elite undead puppets to join in. That made it even harder for them to resist. That batch of elite undead puppets only numbered a few hundred, but their battle power was shocking. In just a short moment, They had already defeated the soldiers who were defending the first line of defense. Just as the elite undead puppets were about to attack the second line of defense, Long Yunjian raised his long sword and azure blue profound light shot out, turning into a majestic and vast sword chi as it slashed upwards. That azure blue longsword's blade seemed to be covered with a layer of thick dragon scales, indestructible. Bam bam bam. Among the undead puppets, the profound light exploded as the air was filled with a majestic imposing manner. Under the sky full of profound light, Long Yunjian's figure was faintly discernible as the azure blue long sword in his hands slashed out numerous sword waves. Long Yunjian's eruption gave the soldiers sufficient morale. The battle instantly turned incomparably fierce. The other members of the world group weren't to be outdone as they carried their weapons and charged up, as compared to the first line of defense, which was easily defeated. As for the second line of defense, that bunch of elite undead puppets were actually unable to break through. However, while the others were unaware of it, the blood-stained sky was gradually covered with a layer of thick black fog. The fog was filled with a shocking cold air. Soundlessly neared the second line of defense. Dmo Xian, who was exchanging blows with Long Outyan, indistinctly sensed a strange change in the air. Just as he was about to shift his gaze over, Long Outyan's figure had already blocked his line of sight. That sunken cold face was filled with a tinge of admiring battle intent. "Young lad, you dare to be distracted while exchanging blows with this seat. Are you looking down on this seat?" His light words were accompanied by an even more ferocious attack. Before anyone realized it, Yemo had already left. In the void of the second line of defense, a vortex-shaped black hole was slowly torn open. Little by little, slowly it began to expand. A vast and boundless dark force, accompanied by colding chi, spread out from the entrance of the cave. The thick black mist formed a huge palm, like 5 sharp blades drilling out of a black hole. They grabbed towards the world group members on the battlefield. "Be careful." Xiao Jin sensed that something was wrong. His pure golden pupils reflected a large patch of thick black mist. His first reaction was swift as he stretched out his long arm and immediately clasped Yin Xiaoyi's slender waist, bringing her into his embrace. The 5 sharp fingers formed by the black fog brushed past Xiao Jin and mist. However, the other members were also swept into the palms of the black fog. Screams of pain came from the mouths of those members. Ziqing. Long Yunjian sheathed his sword and turned around to see Tang Ziqing hanging in midair. Quite a number of members were also suspended in midair as they kept on struggling. Long Yunjian and Xiao Jin exchanged glances and speedily leapt up, attempting to charge towards that black fog palm which had drilled out of the black hole. But 20 over undead puppets swiftly appeared in front of them, blocking the path of those who wanted to head up to rescue her. Chapter 53-25. They totally had no way to get close. Long Yunjian and Xiao Jin's pupils contracted as the expression on their faces turned extremely aghast. The two of them tried their best to kill the undead puppets in front of them, as they wanted to charge forward to save the world group's members. But that black hole whirlpool which was surging with waves was extremely fast. After grabbing more than half of the group members, it swiftly swallowed them into the black hole. The black hole was shrinking bit by bit. Bam! Suddenly, a deafening explosion resounded from the horizon. It shook the entire ground. A devilish red glow instantly covered the entire sky. It also covered that huge black hole, as it was dyed with a large patch of fresh blood red. The devilish red glow seemed as though it was burning the entire sky as it gave off a hissing sound. Everyone saw a blazing red fan, as it spun in midair, as though it was a sharp blade, enough to slice everything in the world, including the profound chi that was formed. The blazing red fan forcefully cut off the hand which was stretched out from the black hole. The world group's members all started to fall from midair. Clang! A deafening cry caused the entire battlefield to surge with a surge of high-spirited battle power. Fiery red flames streaked across the sky. A huge vermilion bird spread its wings and soared, as it steadily caught every single member of the world group. A brilliant tail, as though it had ignited the entire sky with a raging flame. That is Qing Luo. It's Qing Luo's glower flame fan. And the Scarlet Flame. Is Qing Luo here? When the World Mercenary Group's members saw this familiar glower flame fan, and the vermilion bird, their faces revealed an overjoyed expression. Under the sky full of raging flames, a bright young lady dressed in red, like a blossoming bloodthirsty poppy, seemed as though she was stepping on the flames. Her fair hand lifted slightly. The glower flame fan spun one round in midair, as it landed into her palm. She stood casually in midair, as numerous devilish red glow encircled her body, as though a fairy from the 9 heavens had descended, noble and holy, unattainable. Qing Luo. It's Qing Luo. Quickly look, it's Madame Qing Luo. Countless ecstatic voices sounded from the battlefield. When all the profound practitioners who were participating in this battle heard these excited cheers, they all looked towards the horizon, at the red figure that was covered in raging flames. Even Long Ao Tian, who was entangled with Dmo Xian, was slightly dazed when he looked at Yi Qing Luo. Bang! The girl in the air suddenly raised her hand. A ray of light shot out from his fingertips. Long Outyan, who was still in a daze, was sent flying and landed heavily on the ground. Long Outyan was still in a daze, and he was lying on the ground motionlessly. Looking at Yi Qing Luo's gaze, it seemed as though he had seen another person through Yi Qing Luo, sinking into his own memories. Yi Qing Luo's posture was dignified, with an absolute disdainful stance. She raised her voice and shouted, "This phoenix will absolutely not allow you to endanger the safety of the various worlds." Her expression was cold as she swept her gaze across the battlefield, at the people fighting against the undead corpse puppets. "All of you have put in so much effort to protect the various worlds. This phoenix will remember it. From now onwards, this phoenix will fight side by side with all of you, to completely uproot this bunch of people who had invaded the various world positions, attempting to destroy the peace of the world positions." Huang Wuyo. 10,000 years ago, this phoenix's mother, the previous god emperor, died because of sealing Huang Wuyo. Chapter 53:26. The young lady's sonorous and powerful voice sounded like a bell. She raised her hand. A majestic force swept out from her body. The flames turned into a phoenix as it circled around her. The cherry blossom petal on the young lady's forehead gave off a bewitching and glaring red glow. Everyone's eyes were dyed red by the flames. In their hearts, a monstrous battle intent surged. One by one, they gripped the weapons in their hands tightly as their profound chi surged and swarmed into the battlefield. The momentum of the battle erupted once again. Long Outyan regained his senses as he slowly stood up from the ground as he looked at Yi Qing Luo with a complicated gaze. However, that noble and godlike young lady did not even spare him a glance. The glower flame fan in her hands pressed against his neck mercilessly. "Long Outyan, you coward. You don't dare to admit that you like my mother, so you use such a method to deny it. Do you think, after choosing to help the person my mother hates, Huang Wuyo, you still have the right to like my mother?" Her voice was chilly, and there was no hint of euphemism in it. It pierced through the last line of defense in Long Outyan's heart. She didn't kill Long Outyan. Killing him would be the greatest release for him. For the rest of his life, Long Outyan would live in the pain and torment of his past. Yi Qing Luo's return completely destroyed the undead puppets that Huang Wuyo had painstakingly refined. In the depths of the dark abyss, Huang Wuyo, who was shrouded in dense yin qi, sat cross-legged. Chi website. The dense black aura around him was constantly pouring into his body. It made that gentle face that belonged to Gu Jingyu to surface a dense evil aura. His entire person seemed extremely gloomy. "Revered Wuyu. Bad news." A skinny man dressed in a black robe swayed as he rushed in. "Revered Wuyu. Our puppet army has been destroyed by a woman. She has already snatched the God Realm's territory." Huang Wuyo opened his eyes abruptly. The dense black chi overflowed from his pupils as it circulated bit by bit. That person knelt on the ground. "Revered Sir Worryless, the dead corpse puppets led by the various armies cannot hold on any longer. I'm afraid that even the heaven domain and the earth domain will fall." The man continued, "Master Long is no match for His Majesty. Now, even Master Long is under His Majesty's control. Venerable Worryless, please take action personally. Fight a beautiful battle for our Wuyo Empire. That person's voice trembled, but it was filled with passion and reverence for Huang Wuyo. Huang Wuyo's hands, which were resting on his knees, were clenched into fists. His eyes were filled with raging yin qi. Yiqing Luo. It's that woman again. Huang Wuyo gritted his teeth, his face contorted in anger. Revered Sir Worryless, we have to ask you to take action personally this time. Our brothers on the battlefield can't hold on any longer. That person shouted himself hoarse with hatred towards the enemy. The world can only belong to our Wuyo Empire. Huang Wuyo's face darkened as he waved his sleeves. The surrounding yin qi swirled around and gradually formed a circle in front of him. Not long later, a projection appeared in midair. In the projection, the flames of war raged continuously as layers upon layers of baleful qi surged. Both sides' warriors were contending against each other. The dead corpse puppets, which had been meticulously nurtured, should be an invincible existence. However, when the flaming figure of the woman appeared, Lin Fan's eyes widened. Chapter 53-27. The elite puppets that he was so proud of had fallen one by one. Standing in midair, the feather fan spun as she waved her sleeves. She easily repelled all the puppets. Little by little, Huang Wuyo's pupils dilated in Huang Wuyo's eyes. Vaguely, he seemed to have seen the past. The girl smiled brightly at him and called out to him with a soft voice. "Ahuang! Ahuang! Ahuang!" Those cries were surging in his mind. Even the surrounding black qi seemed to have dimmed by quite a bit. Ah! Huang Wuyo covered his head with one hand as the other hand was raised up high, exploding a violent and terrifying profound ray. Rumble! Bam! Everything in the surroundings was shattered by this terrifying profound ray. The entire space was shattered. I will never allow anyone to obstruct my plan. This world will only belong to me alone. Huang Wuyo let out another loud and furious roar. Suddenly leaping into the sky, he turned into a black shadow and under the gloomy yin qi, he scurried into midair. In a blink of an eye, he disappeared into the abyss. At the same time, the skinny man who was kneeling on the ground suddenly fell to the ground. Plop! The black robe that enveloped his body fell to the ground, revealing the eerie white bones under the black robe. That wasn't human at all. Indistinctly, a wisp of alluring red light floated out from that white bones. In the end, it disappeared under the yin qi that filled the sky. Huang Wuyo stood in the sky, stepping on the thick dark qi. 1-8. Even thousands of miles away, he could see the situation of the various domains. His sharp eyes were searching for traces of Yiqing Luo. The raging murderous intent in his eyes was like a storm, about to explode. Suddenly, his vision fell onto a certain interface. That was Yiqing Luo's group of companions? If they were here, Yiqing Luo would definitely be here too. Black qi lingered in Huang Wuyo's eyes as he speedily flew towards the direction of the Earth domain. Fresh blood spread across the battlefield, and countless dismembered corpses were scattered all over the ground. However, it was as if they had their own consciousness as they continued to squirm and attack the soldiers in the land again. However, when a batch of them went up, they were chopped into pieces by the young boys and girls. In the end, they were turned into minced meat that could no longer fight. Under the leadership of the barbaric Bloodbone King, the soldiers of the Earth realm approached step by step. The undead corpse puppets, as well as the major forces that had sided with Huang Wuyo, were forced to retreat again and again. The news of Huang Wuyo's forces being wiped out from the deity world had spread to the other planes. This boosted everyone's morale, and the more they fought, the braver they became. Huang Wuyo's forces seemed to have lost their backbone. Just as the barbaric Bloodbone King and the World Mercenary Group led their soldiers and other mercenary groups to annihilate the last wave of Huang Wuyo's forces, suddenly, a thick black fog surged up from the horizon. It was like an open mouth that swallowed all the light in the world. Violent and overbearing profound energy, accompanied by a soaring murderous aura, slashed downwards. The gloomy yin qi was like an icy frost that spread across the entire battlefield. The soldiers of the World Mercenary Group quickly raised their heads and looked towards the horizon. In the dark sky, a black figure seemed to have merged with the sky. Only half of the figure could be seen clearly, but it was so huge that it almost covered half the sky. When they saw the face of the figure clearly, Long Yunjian frowned. Long Yunjian frowned. Young sect master Gu? I originally wanted to post the ending in one go after writing it, but after thinking about it, I decided to first post a few chapters to tell the babies who are still waiting for the ending of the Divine Phoenix Empire. The next update should directly update all the endings. The ending is a little rushed. I hope everyone can forgive me. If I have the time, I will write the extra chapters. Regardless of whether my babies read it or not, I will still write the extra chapters for the CP. This is just Master Mo's yearning, and also Divine Phoenix's yearning. As for the reason, I can't explain it. Those who haven't experienced it will not understand it. I just want to say that if it wasn't for the fact that they were so mentally broken that they couldn't stand up, no author would put down the book that they deeply loved for so long, and let their beloved babies wait for so long. Writing an ending is my final explanation to everyone, to the Divine Phoenix, and to myself. As for the new book, I don't have any ideas for now. I can't keep up with the current trends and hot topics, so I need to enrich myself. Chapter 53-28. No. He's Huang Wuyo. Yen Xiaoyi frowned. Look at his eyes. The figure in midair was Huang Wuyo, who was floating in the air. Although he had a gentle jade-like face, there wasn't a single trace of color in his eyes. It was filled with a dense black qi. It made him look incomparably ruthless. Huang Wuyo, you've finally appeared. A rat hiding in the dark dares to play tricks behind our backs. If you have the ability, then come and fight with us. The brothers of the World Mercenary Group revealed an enraged expression when they found out that this person was Huang Wuyo. The various large domains were currently embroiled in the flames of war, and countless of innocent commoners had died in the hands of the flames of war. There were also numerous large families and powerhouses who had sacrificed countless of their loved ones and elite disciples before they could barely defend their homes. The main culprit of everything was Huang Wuyo. Huang Wuyo floated in midair as the dense black yin qi churned like a black wave, making him look even more sinister. His ruthless eyes coldly swept across the people below him as his voice was cold and sinister, as though he had an echo effect, making him seem even more sinister. A bunch of ants dare to fight with me? His sleeves moved. The surrounding black yin qi suddenly turned into a huge black dragon as it bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it charged towards the World Mercenary Group brothers. That black dragon was surrounded by a dense black fog, but its speed was extremely fast. The moment it neared them, they felt a sharp xian wave attacking their cheeks. It was horrifying, as though death was approaching. The faces of the World Mercenary Group turned pale as they hurriedly tried to retreat. But their speed was too late. Just at this critical moment, a loud pung sound rang out. Countless eerie white bones broke out from the ground as it formed a bone wall, blocking the incoming xian wave. It also protected the group. Yen Xiaoyi's expression eased up slightly. Luckily Uncle Bone is here, otherwise we... Click the book vault. Before she could finish her sentence, everyone had yet to heave a sigh of relief. Huang Wuyo's attack. When both parties collided, the black dragon dissipated into the air. That bone wall suddenly split open with a crack. Following that, cracking sounds could be heard as it split open. Countless eerie white bones shattered onto the ground. Oh! The Bloodbone Barbarian King, who was in front of everyone, spat out a mouthful of blood. His body swayed slightly. He immediately tightened his grip on the bone spear in his hand and fiercely stabbed it into the ground, barely managing to maintain his balance. Bloodbone Barbarian King. Uncle Bone. The members of the band of brothers had worried expressions as they called out to him. The Bloodbone Barbarian King waved his hand. It's nothing. He gasped lightly and slowly stood up with his spear. His face was strangely pale. You guys have to be careful. His power seems to have become stronger. Originally, from the news that Yiqing Luo brought back, they knew that Huang Wuyo had been using the dead corpse puppets and other forces that he controlled to charge and break through the enemy lines, totally because Huang Wuyo had met with an accident when he was trying to break the seal forcefully. Then he was messed around by Yiqing Luo time and time again. His main body became extremely weak. His strength was far from his peak 10,000 years ago. But as the blood-bone barbaric king from 10,000 years ago, according to what Yiqing Luo said, his profound energy should be above Huang Wuyo. But from that exchange just now, the barbaric blood-bone king clearly felt Huang Wuyo's powerful Xian wave. That was absolutely not the weakened state of his main body. During this period of time, what on earth did Huang Wuyo do? Chapter 53:29. Ha ha ha. Huang Wuyo laughed maniacally as he looked down coldly at the man below. Bloodbone, we haven't met for so many years and you're still the same, knowing your place. Bloodbone barbaric king's eyes darkened. Huang Wuyo opened his arms wide. The black fog in the sky surged. It was as if the entire sky had become his slave. Bloodbone barbaric king held his bloodbone spear tightly as his eyes were filled with viciousness. Huang Wuyo, I was too self-aware, that's why I gave you the chance to hurt Go. Huang Wuyo's maniacal laughter stopped abruptly. His face was cold as he stared at Bloodbone barbaric king fiercely. What are you? Who allowed you to call her that? Gur, this title can only be used by me alone. You're the one who hurt her. You're the one who made her soul dissipate. What right do you have to say that? Bloodbone barbaric king sneered. Huang Wuyo's expression turned uglier by the minute. The surging black yin qi bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it clamored. It was a declaration of Huang Wuyo's anger. She's also my wife and my daughter's mother. Huang Wuyo's voice was filled with terrifying ruthlessness and madness. And you are just a trash who doesn't even have the right to stand beside her. Bloodbone barbaric king wasn't angry but sneered and ridiculed. Your wife? Have you ever treated her as your wife? You've only been using her. All along using her. Your daughter? Have you ever treated Qing Luo as your daughter? What you've been coveting is the profound heart jade in Qing Luo's body, which can inherit the divine phoenix's bloodline. From the start, you've only loved yourself. He held the bloodbone spear and pointed it towards the sky as he sneered. Huang Wuyo, you're very clear that Go, or will never forgive you and will never forgive you, so you're very upset in the depths of your heart, am I right? He could hear the hysteria in Huang Wuyo's tone. He could also hear the anger from him trying his best to deceive himself. Because Huang Wuyo was very clear of his position in Feng Jiyi's heart. Other than hatred, there was only hatred. 100 Flowers literature. Feng Jiyi's feelings for Huang Wuyo had long been exhausted by Huang Wuyo's repeated ambitions. However, Huang Wuyo did not want to admit it. He would rather lie to himself and believe that he was still in Feng Jiyi's heart. The barbaric bloodbone king could not help but sneer in his heart. Was there any use for Huang Wuyo to regret now? No, it's useless. Because Huang Wuyo knew that it was useless, he only had one choice, and that was to follow through with his decision without any hesitation. He would carry on his ambition without any hesitation. Otherwise, all the things he had done would be meaningless. Only by satisfying his ambition could he convince himself of the regret and guilt in the depths of his heart. Perhaps the words of the bloodbone barbarian king had provoked Huang Wuyo. Perhaps it was the ridicule in the eyes of the barbaric bloodbone king that provoked Huang Wuyo. His heart, which was already filled with hostility towards the barbaric bloodbone monarch, seemed to have found an excuse to vent at this moment. He suddenly stretched out his hands towards the sky, and an endless amount of power surged. The dark sky was instantly shrouded in black fog. I absolutely won't regret it. I absolutely won't regret it. Absolutely. I was born to be the overlord of this heaven and earth. All of you submit to me. Rumble. A deafening buzzing sound exploded with a loud bang. Chapter 53:30. The power of the Ancient Ones exploded forth in an instant. Cracks began to appear on the ground as it began to crack. Boom. Countless buildings collapsed. The people standing on the ground began to sway. Not good. He wants to destroy the entire land. Is he crazy? He actually wants to destroy this realm. His strength. How could it be so strong? What's going on? No. Run. Below the Earth realm, everyone's faces were filled with disbelief. Huang Wuyo actually wanted to destroy this world with just a single sentence, causing all the living beings in this world to disappear along with it. This was too ruthless. The barbaric Bloodbone King's expression suddenly turned serious. He gripped his spear tightly and raised his eyes to look at Huang Wuyo, who was emitting a murderous aura. He said in a low voice, "I will go and stop him. Gather the other soldiers first. Follow the order and avoid the places where the cracks are." "Uncle Bone, no." Yin Xiaoyi's eyebrows creased. "That old monster is obviously not normal now, and you even got injured while protecting us. This king is fine." Bloodbone Barbaric King waved his hand. "We can only stop him from continuing his cultivation and hold on till Qing Luo and the others rush over. Then everything will be fine." Long Yunjan's face was cold. "I'll stay and help you." "Me too." Xiao Jin also spoke up. The other members of the world group immediately stood out. "You are no match for him." Barbaric Bloodbone King shook his head in rejection. "Let's not waste any more time here. If we continue to stay here, the Earth Realm will have no hope, and we won't be able to wait for Qing Luo's arrival." Xiao Jin still wanted to say something, but Long Yunjan had already grabbed his shoulder. There was no time to waste. If the Earth domain was really destroyed by Huang Wuyo, the other realms would probably be affected as well. At that time, Huang Wuyo would probably use the same method to deal with the other realms. Everyone began to move in an orderly manner. The Bloodbone Barbarian King looked at the young faces behind him. At this moment, each and every one of them was seriously mobilizing the other soldiers. It was so orderly, so calm. He gripped the spear in his hand tightly. He pressed his hand tightly against his chest. He had promised Gu Er that he would protect her daughter. He had also promised Gu Er's daughter that he would protect her brother. Therefore, he had to stop Huang Wuyo's crazy behavior. The Bloodbone Barbarian King clenched his fingers tightly and leaped forward with his spear. "Huang Wuyo, stop being so stubborn. The things you've been pursuing have always been wrong." Countless densely packed bloody bones stretched out from his body and spread out in all directions like a cobweb. Those bloody bones disappeared into the thick black mist that filled the sky. "Oh!" The Bloodbone Barbarian Monarch suddenly let out a muffled groan when it entered the black fog, and quickly stretched towards Huang Wuyo. The black energy quickly followed the Bloodbone and bound it. It was as if it wanted to devour the barbaric Bloodbone King. A twisted smile appeared on Huang Wuyo's face. "You want to devour me? Bone Lord? Do you really think that you are the same Bone Lord that I used and devoured 10,000 years ago?" He laughed heartily. "What a pity. What a pity. Those tricks of yours aren't worth mentioning in front of this seat." After the Bloodbone Barbarian King heard Huang Wuyo's words, the scene of him transforming into Feng Gu 10,000 years ago appeared in his mind. Time and time again, he lied to him, hurt him and made use of him. The scarlet in his eyes turned even redder, as though blood was flowing out. "That's right, it's like this." Chapter 53:31. Huang Wuyu. The bloodshot eyes of the Bloodbone Barbaric King had almost spread to the whites of his eyes. The smile on Huang Wuyo's face became even more twisted. The thick black fog in the sky slowly gathered and turned into a sharp blade, grabbing towards the Bloodbone Barbaric King. "This heaven and earth should belong to me right from the start. I am the ruler of this heaven and earth. No one is able to stop me." Bam bam bam. The cracking sound of the interface was getting more and more obvious. The Bloodbone Barbaric King's blood bones were entangled with the black chi around Huang Wuyo. But it was obvious that Huang Wuyo was about to devour the Bloodbone Barbaric King. Just at this moment, a clear and cold voice faintly rang out amidst the rumbling that filled the sky. "Is that so? But I don't think so." That voice wasn't loud, but it covered the sound of the heaven and earth collapsing. It slowly went into Huang Wuyo's ears. It made Huang Wuyo's twisted face congeal slightly. Under the thick black sky, it was dyed with the color of a coquettish flame. In an instant, it lit up the surrounding sky. A blazing figure stepped on the air and came over. The red long dress was like a blossoming flower of sparks, with traces of the raging flames. The young lady's beautiful face was cold, with a noble and unattainable bearing. She held a flame feather fan in her hand, and with a gentle wave, it instantly dispersed all the yin qi. "Qiyan." Yi Qing Luo commanded. Qiyan opened its mouth and spat out a purifying flame. The moment Yi Qing Luo appeared, the moment the purifying flame spread. The people who were escaping below seemed to have seen the hope of a new life. Yi Qing Luo's fingertips swept. The glower flame fan in her palm spun out. Bam! Crackle! The yin qi surrounding the barbaric Bloodbone King was completely dispersed. She flew to the side of the Bloodbone Barbaric King and supported him with one hand. Uncle Gu, are you all right? I'm fine. The Bloodbone Barbaric King wiped the blood from the corner of his lips. You must be careful, his current condition doesn't seem right. Yi Qing Luo's delicate brows creased slightly as her gaze shifted to Huang Wuyo. Between her half-squinted eyes, a cold light flowed. He merely used a forbidden technique to return to his peak potential, Yi Qing Luo said calmly, as her tone didn't seem to mind. At his peak, the barbaric Bloodbone King's expression suddenly changed. He knew very well that even the Divine Phoenix and Feng Ge could only fight Huang Wuyo to a draw at his peak. Yi Qing Luo scoffed lightly. Using the forbidden technique is totally going against the balance of heaven's way. There are gains and there are losses. In order for him to recover to his peak strength, he naturally paid an equal price. She smirked and looked at Huang Wuyo with an increasingly cold gaze. I'd like to see how long he can maintain his strength at his peak. Ha 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 ha. In the sky, Huang Wuyo's cold laughter could be heard. As expected of my daughter, you can even tell that I have recovered my full strength. Yi Qing Luo slowly raised her hand and opened the glower flame fan with her fingertips. Do you really think that you can go against me if you recover your full strength? Daughter, aren't you looking down on me? Huang Wuyo intentionally called Yi Qing Luo daughter, in a disgusting manner as he sneered. I know that the current you has completely integrated the profound jade heart into your body, and have inherited the God Emperor's power and Gu-er's profound energy, but... Chapter 53:32. Even if Yi Qing Luo wanted to defend against this last attack, it would be a little strenuous. Her brows creased slightly as her fingertips brushed past the glower flame fan. A wisp of raging flame light scuttled. The pressure on her also rose sharply at this moment. Rumble. The earth boundary finally could not take this kind of pressure. The sky suddenly seemed to be filled with densely packed spider web cracks. Kacha. Immediately following that, a crisp sound was heard. The entire sky started to shatter. And the place where it shattered had turned into a huge black hole, as though it was going to swallow the entire boundary. This change made the both of them stop what they were doing as their gazes turned towards the direction of the shattering. The sky continued to shatter, and with a lightning-fast speed, it was about to shatter towards their battlefield. Huang Wuyo's expression changed as he took a quick glance at Yi Qing Luo and turned around to leave. They could not continue to stay in this boundary any longer. If they continued to stay here, once the crack on the boundary reached their side, the both of them along with the entire boundary would be sucked away by that black hole. His original intention was to destroy the earth boundary, but he had no intention to be destroyed along with the earth boundary in this place. He was the dignified revered Wu Yu, the person who was destined to ascend to the top. How could he possibly die here along with such a broken boundary? But he had just moved. A fiery red figure had already blocked in front of him. The glower flame fan in the young lady's hand drew out a sharp blade. Huang Wuyo took a small step back. The sharp blade cut through his hair as it flew along with the hurricane. Trying to leave? Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled as her long and narrow eyes curled into an arc. Do you think that this phoenix will let you leave the earth boundary and continue to harm others? This is the destruction of the boundary. Huang Wuyo's face revealed a rare anxious expression. Once we are swallowed by the black hole, we will all disappear along with this boundary. So all the more I will not let you leave. Yi Qing Luo's eyes were smiling as her voice was faint and cold. Huang Wuyo's pupils suddenly widened. You want to die here? No, I want you to die here. Yi Qing Luo's words had just ended when a sharp cold glint shot out from her eyes. His attacks were getting sharper and sharper. Huang Wuyo's face darkened as he looked at the collapsing black hole. Yi Qing Luo flicked her fingers lightly. Amidst the raging flames and thick, black yin qi, countless silver threads shot out from the glowing flame fan, wrapping themselves around Huang Wuyo. The approaching aura of death caused Huang Wuyo's eyes to be filled with anger. He was like an infuriated beast. Feng Qing Luo. Do you think you can trap me like this? He shouted in a hoarse voice, his 5 fingers quickly clenched, and the black robe on his body fluttered in the strong wind. Bang! A powerful and tyrannical profound energy exploded from his body. The silver wires which Yiqing Luo had hooked out were all broken by this profound energy. The corner of Yiqing Luo's mouth overflowed with a trace of blood as her figure took 2 steps back. Since you want to be destroyed along with this realm, then be destroyed. Huang Wuyo's eyes were sharp and ruthless. He turned his hand and gathered a ruthless dark force, which transformed into a huge black dragon. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it attacked Yiqing Luo. As for him, he sped towards the direction of the realm. Yiqing Luo chased up swiftly, but the huge black dragon had sharp claws and a gloomy aura. At the same time, behind him, that crack which was collapsing rapidly was already nearing Yiqing Luo's back. Ah! Fengqing Luo, even your mother is not my opponent. How dare you fight with me? Huang Wuyo had already reached the exit of the realm. He turned his head and looked at Yiqing Luo, who was about to be swallowed by the black hole. His face revealed a pitiful but inexplicable excited smile. Once Yiqing Luo, the descendant of Fenggu who had inherited the power of the God Emperor, disappeared from this world. Then no one in this world would be able to match up to him. His plan, his ambition for the past 10,000 years. And it was finally going to be realized. Although it was a pity that his profound heart jade and the power of the God Emperor were not in his hands. But it was enough to get rid of this stumbling block. Just as Huang Wuyo turned his head and was about to step out of the entrance of the realm, suddenly, a ray of golden light passed through the entrance and entered the realm. Immediately following that, a majestic and vast strong aura started to spread. Huang Wuyo had no time to react at all. He was knocked back into the realm by that ray of golden light. In a split second, the entire realm which was about to collapse was enveloped by this golden ray. The entire realm turned into a patch of golden light, which was extremely dazzling. Countless figures of light and golden quicksand slowly filled the surroundings bit by bit. The collapsing boundary was also stopped by the brilliant golden light, as if it had been fixed in place. Huang Wuyo was pierced by this ray as he gave out a painful shriek. He speedily climbed up and tried to scurry towards the entrance of the realm. But in the air, there seemed to be a golden barrier which caused him to bounce back. Huang Wuyo looked at the golden light which filled the sky and faintly sensed something. His expression turned darker and darker. Yiqing Luo was standing not too far away as she stood in the air. She quietly looked at Huang Wuyo as he tried to break through the barrier time and time again to leave the realm. She curled her lips as she scoffed. Do you think that now you can still leave this place? What did you do? Huang Wuyo stopped his actions as he used a vicious gaze to stare at Yiqing Luo fiercely. Yiqing Luo's lips curled slightly as her eyes revealed an undetectable coldness. Isn't it the strongest revered worryless? Still can't understand the current situation? Huang Wuyo's expression turned uglier and uglier as the guesses in his heart started to expand. The dazzling golden light enveloped the entire shattered realm. With a speed which could be seen with the naked eye, it drew lines of profound patterns in the air, as though it had formed a golden shackle, sealing everything in the realm. Qing Luo. The voices of the World Group's brothers were heard from the entrance of the realm. The golden light floated and Yan Xiaoyi and the others' faces could be seen indistinctly in the golden light. The God-confining array is about to be completed. Give us your hand and we'll pull you out. Yan Xiaoyi spoke with a worried look. Yes, God-confining array. This realm, right from the start, Yiqing Luo had intended to use it as bait to lure Huang Wuyo into the trap. Previously in the dark abyss, that messenger who requested Huang Wuyo to take action personally was in fact manipulated by Dmo Xian by Yiqing Luo to intentionally say those words in front of Huang Wuyo. As for that messenger, long before he entered the dark abyss, he had already become a corpse. Whereas the moment Huang Wuyo stepped into the realm, he had also stepped into the trap which she had set. Numerous people used their lives to put on a show, successfully attracting all of Huang Wuyo's attention. Yiqing Luo had not expected that Huang Wuyo would actually cooperate with her plan. At that time, She was still thinking about how to silently make the people from the realm leave the realm without Huang Wuyo noticing. Huang Wuyo's attempt to destroy the entire realm had given her a perfect excuse. The people from the realm had all left the realm, and the entire realm had become a perfect place to set up an array. Ancient God-confining array. Once this array was formed, no matter how strong the cultivator was, he would be sealed in this God-confining array. This array was different from the one which Feng Ge used to seal Huang Wuyo. Feng Ge only made Huang Wuyo fall into a deep sleep. As for the God-confining array, while sealing the cultivator, it absorbed all the energy from the cultivator. In the end, the person who was trapped would become an ordinary person, who didn't even have any martial power. An ordinary person, in a boundless and empty God-confining array. How long could he survive? Yi Qingluo had never intended to kill Huang Wuyo right from the start. No matter whether she was willing to admit it or not, Huang Wuyo was her father. This was an indisputable fact. She would not kill him personally. She would only let Huang Wuyo be trapped in this ancient God-confining array forever. Let him be alone in this endless darkness and boundless God-confining array, slowly losing the energy which he was so proud of. Let him repent for all that he had done. Let him redeem himself in his loneliness and despair. For all that he had done. Ancient God-confining array? When Huang Wuyo heard this array, the expression on his face twisted. His scarlet eyes stared angrily at Yi Qingluo. You schemed against me? It's too late to realize now. Yi Qingluo's pink lips curled. This ancient God-confining array is specially set up for you. You can forget about escaping from it forever. She suddenly raised her hand and summoned the 4 sacred beasts. The vast and boundless red light instantly enveloped her entire body. She waved her hand. The ancient vast water god relic which her mother had left for her fell off from her body and floated in front of Yi Qingluo. Following the profound light on Yi Qingluo's fingertips brushed past. The 4 sacred beasts gave off a series of beast roars. The sacred beast's energy gathered, and with Yi Qingluo's energy, it linked the 5 vast water god relic together, forming a mysterious totem. A dong sound was heard. The 5 vast water god relic flew towards the brilliant golden light. 2 rays of light merged. The entire realm was covered in a boundless golden color. Rumble. The boundary. No, it should be called the ancient God-confining array, started to shake violently. Yi Qingluo glanced at Huang Wuyo indifferently, and when the numerous golden light twisted towards Huang Wuyo's direction, she called back the 4 sacred beasts and turned towards the direction of the entrance. This ancient God-confining array was suggested by Guiyu, Ghost Thief, Ghost Doctor and the rest of the 5 ghosts. It was until they stood out as the main force to set up the God-confining array that Yi Qingluo realized that these 5 ghosts were originally the 5 great generals under Feng Ge. After Feng Ge sent Yi Qingluo into the Nirvana realm, he made the 5 ghosts head over to protect her. The ancient God-confining array wanted to trap Huang Wuyo, and the most important step to let the array lock onto Huang Wuyo had now been fulfilled. Feng Shi was of the Feng family's bloodline, and was the future successor of Divine Phoenix. Ling Long, Huang Wuyo's bloodline. Huang Wuyo's blood flowed in her body. The blood from their hearts was the primer for this God-confining array. Huang Wuyo this time would definitely fall into the God-confining array, with no way to escape. Just as Yi Qingluo was about to reach the entrance and stretched out her hand towards Yan Xiaoyi, suddenly, a gust of resentment and malevolent yin qi attacked her from behind. Yi Qingluo's expression changed as she speedily opened her glower flame fan to counter that yin qi. She turned around and what greeted her was Huang Wuyo's malevolent and furious face. His fingers were like a giant eagle as it flew past Yi Qingluo, attempting to head towards the World Group's brothers who were crowding around the entrance with a face filled with worry. Yi Qingluo speedily raised her glower flame fan and split his arm apart. Xiaoyi, all of you retreat first. Yan Xiaoyi's expression changed. The God-confining array is about to be completed. If you don't come out now, you will. I'll go out immediately. All of you go away first. Huang Wuyo's current stance was obviously to drag everyone to be buried together with him. Although the entrance was already sealed by the God-confining array, But it was inevitable that Huang Wuyo would use the forbidden technique to drag the world group's brothers in. He was taking advantage of her loyalty, attempting to use the world group's brothers to force her to give up on the God-confining array. Yiqing Luo's gaze turned slightly sharp. Huang Wuyo, stop your futile struggle. You no longer have a chance. Huang Wuyo's current expression was already maniacal as he bore a kind of imposing manner of a broken jar as he spoke in a stern and eerie voice. Chance? You destroyed everything that this seat has, so this seat can also destroy you. This ancient God-confining array was specially set up for him. Since he wasn't able to escape, then Yiqing Luo could forget about getting out. You still have so many people who care about you and value you. If you were to be buried forever in this so-called God-confining array, how much despair would they feel, and how sad would they be? Huang Wuyo laughed sinisterly as his face was unable to conceal the malevolence. Yiqing Luo had been paying attention to the entrance of the God-confining array. On seeing that the world group's brothers had all retreated to a safe position, she silently heaved a sigh of relief. She naturally knew what Huang Wuyo was planning, but she didn't want to follow Huang Wuyo's wishes. After all, she wasn't fighting alone right now. What Huang Wuyo said was right. The minute something happened to her, the brothers outside the array, her loved ones and her lover, how much despair would they feel? Moreover, the child in her stomach had not been born yet. Yiqing Luo's hand gently caressed her stomach as her eyes softened a little. Huang Wuyo, you've already hurt Gu'er, now you still want to hurt Gu'er and your daughter? An enraged voice was heard from outside the array. Immediately following that, inch by inch blood-colored eerie bones drilled into the array entrance. Blood-bone barbaric kings had appeared on top of those bones. Uncle Bone. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk. Why did you come in? Bloodbone Barbaric King didn't reply Yiqing Luo's words, but used his eerie blood bones to construct a densely packed city wall, separating Huang Wuyo and Yiqing Luo. He looked at Bloodbone Barbaric King coldly as he gritted his teeth and shouted angrily. Qing Luo is your and Gu'er's only fetters in this world. Do you really want to destroy the last bit of relationship between you and Gu'er? Bloodbone Barbaric King's sudden intrusion made Huang Wuyo stunned for a moment. The billowing black qi also froze around his body. His ferocious face was extremely terrifying. His eyes were filled with a thick black fog. Bloodbone Barbaric King slowly moved towards Huang Wuyo. The eerie blood bones gave off a gotcha sound. And outside the densely packed Bloodbone city wall, a piece of bloodbone, under Yiqing Luo's eyelids, slowly pointed towards the direction of the God-trapping array entrance. Yiqing Luo's pupils suddenly shook. Uncle Bone's meaning was to let her escape from the God-trapping array first? He would restrain Huang Wuyo? From the moment Bloodbone Barbaric King pounced into the God-trapping array, she already had an ominous premonition. Bloodbone Barbaric King obviously wanted to sacrifice himself to seal Huang Wuyo. Yiqing Luo bit her lower lip tightly as she shook her head towards that piece of bloodbone. How could she abandon Bloodbone Barbaric King at this moment and leave the God-trapping array alone? Once she was trapped in the God-trapping array, it was equivalent to waiting for death. Bloodbone Barbaric King seemed to understand Yiqing Luo's intention. Stretching out the bloodbone, it directly lifted Yiqing Luo and sent her to the God-trapping array entrance. Yiqing Luo, don't even think of leaving this place. Huang Wuyo's enraged roar exploded from within the city walls. Boundless black yin energy expanded rapidly. It almost suppressed the sky full of golden light. The moment the black yin qi expanded, the surrounding Bloodbone city wall exploded into pieces with a boom. Uncle Bone. Yiqing Luo's eyes were scarlet red as she shouted for Bloodbone Barbaric King. The moment the bloodbone cracked, Bloodbone Barbaric King let out a painful groan. Immediately afterwards, the sky full of blood and bones began to close in on itself. Bloodbone Barbaric King's figure slowly appeared from the broken blood bones. He staggered a few steps and almost couldn't stand steadily. Yiqing Luo flew forward and supported Bloodbone Barbaric King. Uncle Bone, are you alright? Bloodbone Barbaric King grabbed her arm tightly as his face turned pale. Qing Luo, you go out first, I'll stop him. No way. Yiqing Luo rejected without a second thought. Bloodbone Barbaric King's grip tightened, Listen to me. He took a deep breath and continued. Your mother is no longer in this world. The only reason I'm still alive is to protect you on behalf of your mother. I've already lived for 10,000 years, that's enough. Once I'm sure you're safe, I'll be at ease. Listen to Uncle Bone. Leave first and let me complete your mother's last wish. Don't let everyone's hard work go to waste because of me. Yi-Ching Luo's pupils kept contracting and expanding. She bit her lower lip tightly as she held Bloodbone Barbaric King's hand and shook her head at him. Let her watch Bloodbone Barbaric King meet his death, while she used Bloodbone Barbaric King's life to leave the god-trapping array. She couldn't do it. If you want to leave, let's leave together. Yi-Ching Luo raised her slender hand, and an enchanting red glow shot out from her fingertips. The Azure Dew 5-piece set converged into a line and connected to the Azure Dew bracelet on her wrist. Majestic, profound energy surged out. At the same time, Yi-Ching Luo pulled Bloodbone Barbaric King and flew towards the entrance of the god-trapping array. You two are really affectionate, but... Ching Luo, have you forgotten that I'm your biological father? Huang Wuyo's cold voice was heard from the side. The surging yin qi had blocked the entrance of the god-trapping array. His entire body was emitting a strong gust of qi. The thick black yin qi was like a whirlpool which kept spinning rapidly. He was obviously sure that he was unable to leave the god-trapping array, and was determined to use his last breath to keep Yi-Ching Luo in the array. Ching Luo go. Bloodbone Barbaric King's face turned pale, as he pushed Yi-Ching Luo towards the entrance of the god-trapping array, and turned around to face the surging black yin qi. The bloody bones that had already been shattered forcefully opened up. Yi-Ching Luo was pushed violently and crashed into the black yin qi which was formed by Huang Wuyo's attack. That ball of yin qi blocked the entrance completely. There was a strange chill in the dense black yin energy that accompanied the collision. She shrank back a little, but the black yin qi had no reaction at all. Yi-Ching Luo suddenly realized something as her expression changed drastically, and she quickly turned back to look at Bloodbone Barbaric King. Uncle Bone, it's bad. His target is you now. This entrance had long been blocked by Huang Wuyo's yin qi. Yi-Ching Luo would not be able to leave the entrance in a short while. And Huang Wuyo had shown that he was determined to keep Yi-Ching Luo in the array, but in actual fact, he was deliberately trying to disrupt Bloodbone Barbaric King's cognition. Since Huang Wuyo blocked the entrance, his target was Bloodbone Barbaric King. He wanted to kill Bloodbone Barbaric King. Was it because of Mother? After Bloodbone Barbaric King heard Yi-Ching Luo's words, there was no change in his expression. Or rather, he had already guessed it. Just like what he said, the reason why he was still alive was because he wanted to protect Yi-Ching Luo, whom Feng Ge cared about. Otherwise, the moment Feng Ge's soul dissipated, he would have followed closely behind. Now, he only needed to delay Huang Wuyo for a little more time. Yi-Ching Luo would definitely be able to leave the god-trapping array. Because... Bam! Rumble! A deafening roar caused the entire god-trapping array to shake violently. A powerful and overbearing energy descended from the sky, spreading throughout the entire space. Even the brilliant golden light which was flowing in the array was suppressed by that energy until it dimmed slightly. The next moment, Yi-Ching Luo's slender waist was locked tightly. An elegant sandalwood scent assailed her nostrils. The familiar smell made her feel at ease. Yi-Ching Luo's eyes widened as she raised her head in shock. Ah Xian. It was Ah Xian. He had rushed over. Dmo Xian's purple robe, under the brilliant golden light, looked like a blooming mandala. That peerless face of his was even more handsome, like that of a god. He held Yi-Ching Luo's slender waist with one hand, and opened up his palm with the other hand. His sleeve fluttered as he released a powerful, profound energy, blocking in between Huang Wuyo and Bloodbone Barbaric King. 3 bursts of powerful energy, almost enough to destroy the heavens and earth. The surging waves were like waves after waves of turbulent tsunamis, causing the entire god-trapping array to show a state of collapse. But being held in Dmo Xian's arms and protected by him, she wasn't affected by that powerful pressure at all. The sky was filled with profound waves. Yi-Ching Luo saw Huang Wuyo staggered a few steps back, and the profound waves which Dmo Xian had darted towards Bloodbone Barbaric King in an attempt to protect him were blocked by an invisible force. But Bloodbone Barbaric King wasn't hurt at all. His face was pale as he pressed on his chest, suppressing the blood gushing up his throat as he trembled to steady his body. His gaze quickly scanned the surroundings, as though he was searching for something. And on the other side. So it's my good son-in-law. Huang Wuyo looked at Dmo Xian with a sinister look, his eyes filled with murderous intent. But you're not qualified to snatch someone from my hands. Dmo Xian stood in the air. His purple robe fluttered as he looked at Huang Wuyo indifferently. Really? The person whom I want to protect, you can't snatch her from my hands. Huang Wuyo gave a burst of arrogant laughter. Do you really think that by imprisoning me here, you can win against me? You're just in time. He raised his hand, his withered finger which was only left with bone, pointed at Dmo Xian. Trying to imprison me. But I will make the three of you accompany me in death. 10,000 years ago, Fengge couldn't win against me. 10,000 years later, you still can't win against me. Don't even think of leaving this array. Accompany me in death. All of you shall accompany me in death. Following Huang Wuyo's explosive shout, endless dense black yin qi formed a huge net, tightly encircling the entire formation. His eyes were filled with a maniacal smile and hateful murderous intent. If he was going to die, then he would die together with the world. Huang Wuyo's sharp and ruthless gaze was the first to look at Bloodbone Barbaric King who was standing in a daze. He gave a sinister laugh. Then I'll start with you. He fiercely attacked Bloodbone Barbaric King. Inside the god-confining array, the four forces collided with each other, constantly tearing each other apart. Bloodbone Barbaric King was still standing in the same spot without moving. Uncle Bone. Be careful. Yi Qingluo realized that ever since Bloodbone Barbaric King entered the god-confining array, Huang Wuyo's hostility towards Bloodbone Barbaric King had deepened. As though if he didn't kill Bloodbone Barbaric King, he would not be able to get over this hurdle in his heart. His hatred towards Bloodbone Barbaric King had far exceeded hers. Yi Qingluo wanted to rush forward to save him. But Dmo Xian held her slender waist tightly and said in a deep voice, "He's fine." How could he be fine? Yi Qingluo looked at the Bloodbone Barbaric King who had just raised his head blankly upon hearing her voice, as she shot her gaze towards her. He had no intention of avoiding Huang Wuyo's attack. How could he be fine? Yi Qingluo gripped her glower flame fan tightly, and was about to split Huang Wuyo's attack. But Huang Wuyo's attack was like a hot knife through butter as it went straight down. There was no chance for anyone to react at all. However, Huang Wuyo's attack landed. But it was a lonely attack. There seemed to be an invisible force around Bloodbone Barbaric King, helping him to block off all the damage. Yi Qingluo's heart was finally at ease. Her fingers which were clutching Dmo Xian's chest loosened slightly. Xian, when did you make your move? It wasn't me. Dmo Xian caressed Yi Qingluo's little head. It wasn't you? Yi Qingluo's slender brows creased. Other than you, who else could protect Uncle Bone under Huang Wuyo's attack? She was stunned as she looked at Bloodbone Barbaric King. Huang Wuyo didn't expect things to develop in such a way. His ferocious face stiffened slightly. He stared at Bloodbone Barbaric King intently, as though he wanted to use his eyes to see through Bloodbone Barbaric King. You. How could you? Huang Wuyo muttered softly. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something as his eyes opened wide. That force earlier. Before Huang Wuyo could say anything, Bloodbone Barbaric King had already stretched out his hand in midair as he muttered a name. Yes, Fengge. That was Fengge's power. Huang Wuyo's face was steely green as his gaze swept across the surroundings viciously. Fengge. You're still alive? Where are you? When she heard Huang Wuyo's hoarse howl, Yi Qingluo's eyelashes trembled slightly. Mother? Hadn't her mother already? When she inherited the God Emperor's power. How could that be possible? Bloodbone Barbaric King's stretched out hand seemed to be grabbing the air. But slowly, a virtual figure slowly appeared under the golden rays. A slender hand fell into Bloodbone Barbaric King's palm. Although it was just a virtual figure, but everyone could recognize it. This figure was Fengge. Bloodbone Barbaric King grabbed Feng Ji's hand tightly as the cold expression on his face was no longer there. He looked at the virtual figure in disbelief as his eyes were filled with deep nostalgia. Feng Ge gave him a gentle smile. This scene stung Huang Wuyo's eyes. His dark eyes were covered with gloomy qi as he stared angrily. Feng Ge, it's you. It's really you. That virtual figure held Bloodbone Barbaric King's hand as she looked at Huang Wuyo. Even though it was just a virtual figure, and the face couldn't be seen clearly, but Huang Wuyo could still see the indifference on that virtual figure's face. That gaze was as though she was looking at a stranger, without any emotions. Huang Wuyo's heart suddenly tightened. Guru. Feng Ji's eyes were calm. That virtual figure seemed as though it would dissipate any time along with the surrounding hurricane. Yiqing Luo's pupils contracted as her heart tightened. Mother. Hearing Yiqing Luo's voice, Feng Ji's gaze fell onto her as she gave a gentle and loving smile. It's Mother. It's really Mother. Her soul didn't dissipate. That's Mother's obsession. Dmo Xian caressed Yiqing Luo's head lightly. Perhaps Mother had already predicted everything today, so she left a strand of obsession to accompany Uncle Bone. It was Mother who protected Uncle Bone. And the meaning of this strand of obsession was to protect Uncle Bone. Hearing Dmo Xian's words, Bloodbone Barbaric King's face revealed a shocked and incredulous expression. He stared unblinkingly at Feng Ge, who was holding his hand, as his eyes were filled with agitation, as though he was about to burst into tears. His hands were trembling as his eyes looked greedily at the person in front of him. His voice was hoarse as he called out in a low voice, Guer. And this sentence also fell into Huang Wuyo's ears. Huang Wuyo regained his senses from the shock as his face twisted. Accompany him? Feng Ge, have you had a change of heart? Have you fallen in love with him? This question was filled with surging anger. Feng Ji's expression was cold as she looked at Huang Wuyo indifferently. That pair of chilly eyes didn't contain any emotions. She didn't say a word, but only curled her lips, revealing a sarcastic and cold smile. That smirk of sarcasm fell into Huang Wuyo's eyes, making him grit his teeth in anger. He understood. Feng Ge was ridiculing him, questioning him if he regretted it because of his ambition. She was ridiculing him, asking him if he had really fallen in love with her and couldn't accept her being with another man. No. He didn't regret it. And he absolutely wouldn't regret it. All he cared about was this woman. Her heart and eyes should be filled with him. Huang Wuyo's emotions were getting more and more furious, almost falling into madness. And at this moment, Yiqing Luo, who was staring at Feng Ge in a daze, suddenly heard a gentle and loving voice in her mind. Luo, Yiqing Luo's eyes went blank as she clutched Dmo Xian's lapel tightly. Mother? Don't speak, listen to Mother. Feng Ji's gentle voice was like a warm breeze caressing her face. Yiqing Luo's heart inexplicably surged with an ominous premonition. Feng Ge laughed lightly. Luo, the only person who can end this catastrophe is you. Listen to Mother, and do as I say. Yiqing Luo's heart tightened as she asked in her heart. Then Mother, what about you? Mother is originally not a person of this world. You don't have to be too sad, this is Mother's fate. Feng Ji's voice sounded a little relieved. Finally it's going to end all of this. Her gaze seemed to be on Yiqing Luo's abdomen, filled with love. I didn't expect that I would have the chance to see my daughter become a mother. Feng Ji's tone became increasingly gentle. Luo, this is the last gift that I, as a grandmother, give to you. Following Feng Ji's words, Yiqing Luo only felt a dull feeling in her heart. The next moment, Feng Ge suddenly flew up and rushed towards the direction of Huang Wuyo. Bloodbone Barbaric King's pupils contracted as he screamed. However, Feng Ge hugged Huang Wuyo tightly. A glaring God Emperor's power exploded from her body. Huang Wuyo's body, under Feng Ji's forceful restraint, fell into the brilliant golden array abyss. At the same time, Feng Ji's words rang in Yiqing Luo's mind. Bring them, leave. Yiqing Luo clenched her fingers tightly as she took a deep look at the direction where Feng Ge and Huang Wuyo had fallen, and raised her head to look at Dmo Xian. Ah Xian. This is Mother using her last bit of energy to protect you. Don't let her down. Dmo Xian sighed softly. Now that Fengge was only left with a sliver of obsession. Even if they could leave the God-confining array, Fengge would not be able to survive in this world. The real Fengge was no longer in this world. This was the only chance to seal Huang Wuyo. In the abyss, Huang Wuyo's angry howl was heard. Fengge. Bam. A deafening explosion was heard. Dmo Xian hooked Yiqing Luo's slender waist. There's no time to hesitate, let's go. In the array abyss, large swathes of black qi surged out from the seal. With the momentum of lightning and thunder, it swiftly coiled upwards. Dmo Xian hooked Yiqing Luo with one hand, and pulled Bloodbone Barbaric King with the other, as they flew out of the God-confining array. At the instance when they left the God-confining array, Yiqing Luo felt a scorching hot sensation from her abdomen. Boundless energy filled her entire body. Luo, in order to trap Huang Wuyo in the God-confining array, we will need you, the God Emperor, to use the power of the God Emperor to make the final seal. You can do it. Yiqing Luo raised her head and exchanged glances with Dmo Xian. There was no need for superfluous words. Their hearts were connected. Dmo Xian held her hand tightly as his eyes were gentle and loving. If you want to do it, I'm here. Yiqing Luo nodded as she pulled his hand over and placed it on her abdomen. Wait for me. This action made Dmo Xian's pupils shrink abruptly. He looked at his palm in disbelief. The young lady's flat abdomen was emitting a scorching heat. Yiqing Luo smiled at him, and immediately closed her eyes as she flew up into the sky. Following Feng Ji's lead, the vast aqua divine weapon which had blended with the brilliant golden light, following Yiqing Luo's summon, it quickly twisted and formed a strange totem. The energy from the abdomen lingered around her limbs. A huge light spot seemed to appear in front of Yiqing Luo's eyes. She slowly extended her consciousness into that bolt of light. Boom. A buzzing sound rang in her mind. A glaring and majestic profound energy flew out. Between heaven and earth, all the energy gathered at this instance. The strange totem in the sky, one after another, stacked up and consolidated, forming a huge seal. It's out. Huang Wuyo's black qi. Oh no. The God-trapping array is still lacking a little. The surroundings rang with the world group and the other cultivators' cries of alarm. Could it be that all their previous efforts were going to be wasted? Everyone's faces revealed a difficult expression as their hearts were as dead as ashes. They had finally expended a huge amount of energy, sacrificing the entire territory as an array, just to seal Huang Wuyo. They had not expected. In the end, he still managed to escape. The swift and violent black qi sped around as it bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it charged out of the God-trapping array. Just at this moment, the sky full of huge totems instantly gathered together. A loud dong was heard as it heavily smashed onto the entrance of the God-trapping array. It also directly cut off the black qi which Huang Wuyo had drilled out. Dmo Xian waved his sleeves as boundless profound energy gushed out, dispersing that blade of black qi which had drilled out of the God-trapping array. The brilliant golden flowing light and the bewitching red glow intertwined as it encircled the entrance of the God-trapping array, layer after layer, wrapping it up completely. The huge shackles firmly sealed the entire God-trapping array. Gradually, the brilliant golden flowing light and the bewitching red glow faded. The entire huge God-trapping array also slowly concealed itself. It turned into a withered city. Yiqing Luo slowly opened her eyes as her fingertip swept. A drop of blood seeped out from her finger as it dripped onto the array's eye. A ball of red glow spread throughout the entire array. Once again, it concealed itself. Yiqing Luo retracted her hand. The vast water divine armament which was suspended in a line in the sky slowly returned to Yiqing Luo's body. The four sacred beasts also returned to the pet space the moment the array settled as they collectively fell into a deep sleep. Success, success. The God-trapping array has trapped Huang Wuyo? Has it ended? Everything. Really ended? Everyone at the scene stared blankly at the array in front of them as their emotions surged. A dry and hoarse voice came out from their throats, filled with shock and careful probing, but also with hidden excitement. This battle with Huang Wuyo, it had already caused all the major realms to fall into an abyss of suffering. Finally, it had ended. Yi Qing Luo looked deeply at the array as the stone hanging in her heart gradually fell. No matter how strong Huang Wuyo was now, no matter how great his ability was, today it was of no use at all. The God-trapping array made him lose his freedom forever. And the power that her mother left in the God-trapping array was enough to make Huang Wuyo, who had used the forbidden technique, to increase his strength. To speed up his disappearance in the God-trapping array, because the forbidden technique would definitely backfire. This time, it was really over. The moment Yi Qing Luo retracted her hand, her body, which was standing in the air, staggered slightly. Immediately, as if she had lost all her strength, she fell from the sky. However, Yi Qing Luo did not panic. Instead, she closed her eyes. As expected, she fell into a warm arm. Her arms encircled the other party's waist as she buried her face into his embrace. I knew that you would definitely catch me. You're too reckless. Although Dmo Xian's words were grumbling, but it was indeed filled with deep concern. You're not alone now. Have you ever thought that I would be worried when you act so recklessly? Yi Qing Luo's little face stiffened as she widened her eyes and stared at him. Why? Now that you have the little one, you're starting to be fierce to the big one? Tell me, do you love me or your child? Dmo Xian pinched her face as his brows were sincere, his deep eyes were filled with deep affection. I love you, so I love you and my child. Because it was her, so he loved her. Yi Qing Luo's heart suddenly soared as her eyes curved into a smile. The curtains of the war finally came to an end. The dark clouds dispersed and the sunlight, which symbolized hope, shone on every corner of the various realms. The people from various realms started to rebuild their homes for the future. Because the Earth realm was used as the God-trapping array, Yi Qing Luo directly let the people from the Earth realm settle down in the God realm. As for how to maintain the balance between the Earth realm and the God realm, that could only be reformulated later. And just as Yi Qing Luo was wearing a phoenix robe and a phoenix crown, standing on the phoenix stage, which symbolized the supremacy of the divine phoenix realm, convening the various realms to make decisions for the future development of the biggest meeting, Dmo Xian was dressed in a gorgeous red robe as he descended from the sky. The gorgeous red complemented his peerlessly handsome face, adding a different kind of charm to it. Yi Qing Luo was almost stunned. Dmo Xian's eyes were filled with affection as he swept his sleeves. Flower petals fell from the sky as the entire venue was filled with boundless rippling roses. Under the sea of flowers, Dmo Xian lightly clasped Yi Qing Luo's lower jaw as he bowed his head. His voice was low, and in the sea of flowers, it carried a mellow intoxication. It's been so long, I'm already wearing my wedding dress. So, when do you intend to marry me? The man's elegant face was even more dazzling than the sea of flowers. Yi Qing Luo's eyes were filled with a thin mist as she smiled lightly. Now let's get married. End of main text *********. The author has something to say. This is the first time MOMO has written such a long article and dragged on for such a long time. Now that I've sent it to you, it can be considered as fulfilling everyone's dream. To tell the truth, when she typed the words, end of main text, she had a lot of emotions in her heart and a lot of reluctance. But after waiting for such a long time, she still had to write out the ending. Following that, there were some side chapters, mainly about Dmo Xian and Yi Qing Luo's married life, as well as the children, and also some plot holes that weren't written in the ending, as well as some of the more popular daily CP. But the side chapters wouldn't be too long. She would write it when she was free, so her babies didn't have to keep waiting. Perhaps one day when they thought of it, they could come and take a look. Thank you for your company and waiting all this while. And I'm deeply sorry to let down your company and waiting. Really, thank you and sorry. It's you who gave me glory and the courage to stand up. Chapter 53-33. The main city of the God realm was brimming with joy today. From the end of the street to the end, it was hung with bright red silk and plastered with big red happy characters. It added some liveliness to the usually cold and solemn God realm. Tables and tables of sumptuous banquets were set up within 100 miles of the temple. A golden-laid red carpet was also laid all the way to the temple. I didn't expect that I would be able to witness the wedding of the divine phoenix. I heard, the man that our divine phoenix is going to marry. is the palace lord of the Imperial Palace. Imperial Palace? The overlord who traversed the realms. A perfect match, a perfect match. Countless people who came to congratulate them couldn't stop praising them. To Yiqing Luo and DM Xian, they were already the saviors in everyone's hearts. No matter how high their profound grades were, no matter how powerful their status was, they were all convinced by this. In the auditorium, the festive drums were played. A pair of newlyweds slowly stepped onto the flower path paved with petals. The young lady was dressed in a robe with petals trailing behind her skirt. She looked like a fairy walking out of the flowers. Step by step, she walked to the front of the man. A slender hand was placed in the man's hand. The man clenched his fists and interlocked his fingers. The man was like a celestial being, peerless in his generation. The young lady was like a phoenix, charming and charming. After bowing to heaven and earth, to the parents, both of them bowed to each other. The red phoenix dress danced in the air. It made the young lady even more charming. The man lifted the veil and kissed her under the cheers of the crowd. Yiqing Luo's arms wrapped tightly around DM Xian's neck as she buried her head in his arms. Her tone was soft and sincere. Holding your hand, growing old with you, accompanying you for all eternity. This was the promise she gave him. A promise that only belonged to the two of them. DM Xian's brows curved slightly as his eyes were filled with tenderness. Among the many congratulatory voices, there was a corner that was extremely quiet. A purple figure stood in the corner, quietly watching the joyous scene. That pair of calm cold eyes was suffused with a faint sadness. After watching for a long time, he suddenly laughed softly. Sure enough, I will never be able to surpass DM Xian's position in your heart. The man closed his eyes, and tears fell from the corners of his eyes again. Or rather, I've never entered your heart. Just like what Yiqing Luo had said previously. Her heart was very small and could only accommodate DM Xian alone. As for him, from the beginning to the end he was just an insignificant passerby. The man took a deep breath. I'm sorry, I still can't give you my blessing. He turned. His purple sleeves fluttered in the wind, shimmering and luxurious. Wu Xin, since you're here, why don't you come in? The girl's clear voice came from behind him. The man stopped in his tracks. He turned around and saw the young girl's enchanting face. Behind her was a man dressed in bridegroom attire. Zhu Wuxin's pupils shrank slightly. He averted his gaze and walked away. Wuxin. Yiqing Luo opened her mouth once again. As her gaze calmly looked at his back view, Zhu Wuxin's footsteps halted once more. Wu Xian, that time when we were able to successfully seal Huang Wuyo, it was all thanks to you. Yiqing Luo slowly walked to his side. I know it was you who helped me. Zhu Wuxin's thin lips pursed slightly. Yiqing Luo continued. Actually, the reason why my mother stayed by Uncle Gu's side was because of you. It was you who helped my mother to leave behind an obsession, which allowed me to successfully seal Huang Wuyo in the end. I only divined that only you can solve this matter. Zhu Wuxin finally opened his mouth, as his voice was cold. If one listened carefully, one would be able to hear the trembling in his tone. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. But it's because of you that we can have the peace and tranquility we have now. Zhu Wuxin didn't say another word. Wuxin, really? Thank you. Yiqing Luo lifted the phoenix skirt of her wedding dress as she bowed slightly towards Zhu Wuxin. I represent the upper realm, and the other realms. Thank you. Pausing, she straightened her body. And I'm very grateful to you too. Zhu Wuxin's brows sunk slightly. He lifted his feet once again as he walked forward. What he wanted was never her gratitude. What he wanted, she would never be able to give it to him. Zhu Wuxin left in a straightforward and resolute manner. Indistinctly, he heard a young lady's clear and melodious voice shouting behind him. Wuxin, you're my forever friend, and also the godfather of the child in my womb. His body stiffened slightly, but his footsteps were still very resolute. The festive drumming and congratulatory voices were still lingering in his mind. He walked away step by step. But in front of him, that gorgeous young lady dressed in red, whose beauty could cause the downfall of countries, was still clearly floating in front of his eyes. He stopped, as he leaned against a big tree and shut his eyes. He covered his eyes with his hand, not knowing how long had passed. A soft little hand covered his hand. By his ear was an unfamiliar lady's tender voice. "Little brother, why are you sitting here alone? You'll fall sick." Zhu Wuxin suddenly opened his eyes. His icy cold eyes shot out like a sharp blade. The lady got a fright, as the umbrella in her hand also dropped onto the ground. The wind lifted the veil on the lady's face. A devastatingly beautiful face reflected into Zhu Wuxin's eyes. That pair of narrow and wavy eyes was like a net, trapping him firmly. This pair of eyes looked like Yi Qing Luo. Seemed like her. Zhu Wuxin stretched out his hand absent-mindedly, as he wanted to touch the lady in front of him. But his hand stretched out halfway, as it fell down heavily. "Yi Qing Luo, I'm already unable to escape from your net. If meeting you is my calamity, then I'm willing to be consigned to eternal damnation." Book end. That you're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.